What you are watching today is something special in the content of horror stories, as we mix real horror stories with scary video games, which will lead, when you finish the video, to a huge boost of pleasure and dopamine. So do not forget to support us so that we can continue.
Hello to those who watch us for the first time with you, Iman. I talk about everything that is mysterious and strange on the globe. Bring your favorite drink. Let's get started.
I never should have given into curiosity about the dark web after seeing it mentioned in YouTube comments. I got the not-so-bright idea to look up an access tutorial I managed to get in, but quickly saw things that will haunt me forever. And then my laptop got hacked and my IP address exposed when I stupidly went full screen. I'm just grateful I got out before anything worse happened, but I'll certainly never view the internet the same way again. It started late one weekend night when I was bored and aimlessly scrolling YouTube. I stumbled upon a video about urban legends and noticed several people in the comments mentioning visiting the dark web to see crazy stuff. Of course, it's Pete by curiosity. I had to Google what it even was. What I read online made it sound creepy but intriguing. People said the dark will have a lot of access to the evening index underbelly of the internet, where anything imaginable could be found, both legal and very illegal against my better judgment. I found myself wanting to experience it firsthand, a momentary lapse in reasoning. After more searching, I came across a YouTube tutorial that claimed to show how to easily access the dark web. The video walkthrough, downloading some browser called Tor that would obscure your location and gave links to directories full of on the insights not filed through normal search engines, seemed easy enough for my tech skills. With a mix of excitement and nerves, I downloaded the Tor browser and clicked the first cryptic Omian link from the video description. The page that loaded was pitch black with green text in a foreign language, spooky for sure, with nothing crazy yet. I tried a few more links. That's when things took a dark turn. I clicked through the first few cryptic onion links from the video description, and it seemed like mostly text-based sites. Nothing too crazy, but that I landed on one that made my heart drop. It showed people chained up in what looked like prison cells, many badly bruised and clearly being trafficked in disturbed disbelief. I clicked back and tried a different link. This site displayed rows of photos of different body parts, hands, feet, eyes, organs, many bloody with pricing listed. Beside, they were apparently for sale. I felt not as realizing this was real illegal trading human body parts. My morbid curiosity drove me to try one more link before getting out of there. This last site that loaded in my Tor browser was the most horrifying of all. It was set up like security camera feed showing different rooms where people were strapped to tables surrounded by lab equipment. They seemed to be prisoners having horrific experiments conducted on them. Against their will, I sat frozen in horror, watching close-up shots of unwilling lab rats being injected and cut open and subjected to agonizing procedures. Some were limp and unmoving. Clearly deceased, others screamed or writhed silently with no escape. The clinical brutality shook me to my core. This was the stuff of nightmares. In a moment, father's shock. I clicked to full screen mode to get a closer look at one of the rooms. I felt completely sickened, yet couldn't tear eyes away. Just then, a glaring red pop-up flashed across the giant montage of suffering people, announcing that my IPv address had been detected and hacked. Panic flooded my system. Suddenly, screenshots and photos of my own social media profiles began rapidly flashing on the screen, along with my home address display in large font. I realized I had made myself vulnerable to being tracked. The terror was instant and visceral, handshaking. I frantically slammed my laptop shut and jumped up from the desk where I had been sitting. My heart was pounding as a gruesome reality sank in, that I had seen things meant only for the blackest corners of humanity. And now my identity could be compromised or traced as well. What I'd done, I paced my apartment, waves of paranoia washing over me, as I imagined all the ways my life could be ruined by my foolish curiosity. Police showing up at my door to question me, being added to criminal watch lists, hacker attacks trading my accounts. The possibilities swirling through my mind were endless and terrifying. Over the next few days, I was on edge, constantly wondering if my identity had been compromised. Every unusual email or phone call made me cringe. I kept imagining police showing up at my door to arrest me for what I had witnessed on the dark web, even though I quickly closed it. I couldn't either sleep well, all waiting to see how bad the fallout would be from giving in to more of a fascination. Thankfully, after 2 stressful weeks, nothing strange ended up happening. My accountant identity seemed secure, which was an enormous relief. I'd gotten lucky, considering how careless I was being. Never again. I owed myself. Curiosity is not worth that level of risk, but I'll never be able to unseen. Those horrifying images burned into my mind whenever I hear any mention of the dark web. Now I feel tremors of anxiety. I learned the hard way that some dangers aren't worth exploring, especially when you have so much to lose. The dark web definitely lives up to its honest reputation. Venturing there even briefly shakes you to the core, once you've seen what lurks in its shadows. I'm sticking to the mainstream internet from now on. There are some places human eyes just aren't meant to go in the end. I learned the hard way to leave some curiosities on probe rather than giving in unlucky. The dark web is one that I can choose to avoid after getting too close. That night I accessed a dark web out of sheer boredom is one I'll regret forever, just aimlessly clicking around looking for entertainment. I stumbled onto a site trafficking stolen identities. Never could I have fathomed seeing my own driver's license. I'm on their disturbing wares for sale makes my blood run cold, thinking back on it. It started as an ordinary, uneventful Saturday night alone in my dorm. My roommate was away that I had absolutely nothing pressing to do. I heard murmurings around campus lately about students accessing the secretive dark web via a browser called Tor to buy contraband like fake IDs and hacked Netflix logins. Well, it sounded sketchy. I'd be lying if I said it didn't also perk my curiosity. I had time to kill, and poor judgment clouded by sheer boredom can make people do foolish things against my better instincts. I decided to see if I could find instructions for accessing the encrypted Tor browser myself. After some searching online, I successfully located a guide to installing and configuring Tor on my laptop. As I clicked through the process, I felt a mix of nerves and thrill and excitement. I knew I was venturing somewhere potentially dangerous and illegal, but the lure of mystery outweighed the cautionary voice in my head, warning me away. Once set up, the Tor browser overlaid a network that concealed my location identity. With the racing part, I hesitantly clicked on a gateway link from the tutorial to any of the dark web. I genuinely had no idea what to expect. The first hidden site that loaded was a sprawling underground marketplace for buying and selling all sorts of fraudulent documents, hacked it, and other illegally obtained personal information. My eyes widened as I slowly scrolled through the sinister wares, morbidly fascinated. Such a place existed right under the surface of the everyday internet. I knew there were entire sections dedicated to fake IDs from every state, thousands of stolen credit card and social security numbers, hacked medical records, phone logs, nude photos obtained without consent. It was an identity thief and scammer's absolute dream. Trove of assets and vulnerable personal data. I felt amazed and deeply unsettled browsing through page after page, but I was disturbingly compelled to keep going, unable to look away from this massive black market hidden in plain sight. In the fake identification area alone, there were hundreds of apparently legitimate licenses, ID cards, and passports from states and countries around the world. I clicked through samples from numerous states, scrutinizing them closely. I was shocked by how utterly authentic they looked. Crisp holograms, convincingly official designs, DMV, and government logos. These could very easily fool most people and businesses. I realized with an anxious knot in my stomach. I continued to slowly scroll through row after countless row of fraudulent IDs listed for sale, detectively glancing at the random strangers' names, photos, and vital details disconcertingly. Many of the people looked like they could be my schoolmates, neighbors, or co-workers. When I got around halfway down the listings for my own home state, I froze in disbelief. Staring back at me from the page was my very own face and name on a license being sold. I sat staring in panic confusion, triple and quadruple checking the image, but there was absolutely no doubt it was my real current driver's license. My name, photo, home address, license number, all perfectly replicated in meticulous detail. I examined every pixel closely but could find no flaws, proving it wasn't genuine. My mind spun as I struggled to comprehend how this could be possible. Had my identity somehow been hacked and compromised without my knowledge? Were there shadowy figures out there with access to my personal data? It felt like the ground giving way beneath my feet. I scrolled to the remaining pages for my state with growing unease. Terrified I might find more of my information copied on sale, but it appeared to just be the license, at least for now. However, I knew with access to that, criminals could easily manufacture countless other fake documents in my name and steal my identity. I sat reeling at this unthinkable violation. My sense of security shattered a set steering, confused, panic triple-checking, but there was absolutely no doubt it was my current real driver's license. My name, photo, home address, license number, all replicated flawlessly, had my identity been somehow hacked without my knowledge and sold. I sat there in tormented shock, realizing the terrifying implications with access to my license info. Identity thieves could easily open fraudulent accounts, make fake IDs, destroy my credit. My security have been totally compromised by unseen forces. In a daze, I shut my laptop and began anxiously pacing his reality. Stonking, I imagined always faceless cybercriminals could now exploit every aspect of my digital identity. False tax returns, loans in my name, cleaning out my financial accounts. Seeing that unnervingly real stolen license with my face had made the identity theft threat crushing and concrete. Over the next few days, I was on edge constantly as I checked all my accounts for anything to miss. I held my breath each time, expecting to see mysterious charges or passwords changed. I realized how effortlessly malicious hackers could hijack and decimate my online identity. I wasn't hyper-vigilant to my enormous relief. Nothing seemed to have actually been compromised yet outside the license itself, but I knew I had glimpsed just how fragile and vulnerable our personal data trails are. Floating somewhere in the digital shadows we never see, a sense of security was forever shaken. It all started a few weeks ago over winter break when I was up late alone one night with nothing to do. I'd heard rumors around campus lately about tech-savvy students accessing the secretive dark web through a browser called Tor. Of course, it's piqued by curiosity. After some searching online, I downloaded Tor myself, though I wasn't entirely sure where to look. Once I actually gained access to the encrypted network with both nerves and thrilling excitement, I started clicking randomly from gateway link to gateway link, not finding anything too alarming at first. A lot of the sites were just text pages filled with code and usernames, but eventually, through pure chance, I landed on a hidden forum that looked much more sinister. Users were openly posting about all manner of shady cyber activities, hacking computers, draining bank accounts, selling stolen data, and IDs on the black market, even creepier, highly illegal things I won't mention. I knew I should have clicked away immediately, but something compelled me to linger, fascinated by this glimpse into the underbelly of the web against my better judgment. I created an anonymous account on the forum and introduced myself as a wide-eyed newbie who was eager to learn the dark web robes. I posed as a curious outsider, fascinated by the secret cyber community. Surprisingly, the experienced members seemed very excited to take me under their wing and show a newcomer the shadowy robes. In hindsight, they were clearly grooming fresh meat. But at the time, I felt flattered by how welcoming they were. Before long, my inbox was flooded with private messages from veteran users, enthusiastically sending me links to hidden weakest black market sites, dangerous malware programs to practice on, and guides for covering my tracks online. One even claimed he could get me fake documents like licenses and passports if I wanted. Their generosity and openness astonished me, given the illegal nature of it all. Like an idiot, I recklessly downloaded files and clicked links I never should have to. Intrigued and seduced by the promise of absorbing all the forbidden knowledge of this cyber underworld had to offer, the more they said, the more I consumed, never pausing to consider any consequences. Being showered with so much insider information made me feel like I was part of some exclusive secret club. The veteran dark web users were so friendly and eager to mentor their new prodigy that I got totally carried away, diving deeper and deeper into everything they showed me. It gave me a dangerous thrill and sense of baloney. At the time, I convinced myself this was just a mostly harmless way to satisfy my growing fascination with the hidden internet. I assumed the anonymous screams guiding me were merely excited to pass their skills. On to the next generation in my Navid, I never properly considered how potentially reckless and vulnerable my actions were making me. But after a couple weeks of dipping my toe ever deeper into more shadowy discussions and hidden corners of the web, very strange things started happening in my day-to-day digital life outside Tour. I noticed unauthorized login attempts to my social media accounts getting added to bizarre mailing lists. I'd never signed up for a pervasive sense I was being watched from the shadows. Things would vanish from my phone camera roll that I knew I hadn't deleted. It was left hand kicked a hornet's nest, and now unseen forces were tracking me. I became convinced that my real identity had been compromised somehow through my careless dark web activities. However, extensive security scans and went into total digital lockdown, but the creeping scent of strange eyes monitoring me from unseen places only intensified. I knew I had to completely cut all ties to that dangerous online rail immediately. Easier said than done. Though, however, I had no idea just how bad things were about to get until a few mornings later, I ordered my dorm room door to find an unmarked envelope had been slipped under it. Overnight, trembling hands, I tore it open to find a typed note with a chillingly simple message. "We know exactly who you are now. We'll be watching you closely from here on out." Pure dread washed over me instantly. I had brought this on myself through my reckless curiosity, and now nameless, faceless strangers had my name, location, and who knows what else the note also implied. This wasn't just a prag or empty thread. I was now being actively monitored and stalked digitally, and maybe even physically, by entities I could not identify or saw. Over the following weeks, I became a nervous, paranoid wreck. I jumped at every odd occurrence, both online and in the real world, worried who might be lurking. I knew it was unlikely some underground cybercrime group would actually come after me in person, but the haunting knowledge that my identity and data were out there being tracked by hidden, powerful forces left me constantly carrying out the window or over my shoulder, trusting no one. I hardly slept in the end, nothing more directly. Sinister came from the eerie anonymous letter itself. No follow-up messages or concrete incidents I could definitively connect back to it. Eventually, the most debilitating immediate paranoia subsided, but a lingering vat on these remained, as did the skin-crawling sense of unseen eyes observing me from somewhere in the shadows. I had ventured somewhere naively that was not prepared for, and then retreated quickly once the darkness began to reach back. But even briefly engaging with those forces was enough to leave a permanent chilling mark on me, deep down a grave reminder that if you tempt the shadows, it just might decide to tempt you back in ways you can neither anticipate nor control. Some doors once opened cannot be closed again. So neatly, my foolish dark web dabbling served as a sobering lesson at a young age. Everything has a price, and compromising your real world, identity, and safety, even indirectly, is never worth the fleeting thrill of flirting with unconstrained digital forces. You do not understand. Immensely grateful things didn't escalate any further than they did, but the ripple effects still shaped me for years to come. Now I know better than to take such unnecessary risks, dancing with the devil, real or digital. No matter how alluring, curiosity kills more than just cats, especially online. Some stones are better left forever unturned. The night has prying eyes both within and beyond the machine. Once you glance, the darkness staring back, it never fully leaves you. I will make that mistake again. This actually happened to a friend of mine in college over 10 years ago. It was a bit of a computer nerd and frequently visited many sites for privacy. I'll call him Adam. He was 25 at the time and shared custody of his toddler daughter with his ex-girlfriend. So lonely and bored, he searched dating sites on his laptop. He suddenly saw a flashing banner that said, "Single, would you like to meet? Click here and find your match." He naively clicked it, the banner disappeared, and was replaced with another message. "Congratulations, single lonely person. Are you a man or a woman? Click either the man or the woman symbol." He clicked the man button. It responded with, "Do you want to meet a man or a woman?" He clicked a woman symbol. Finally, it asked, "What's your name?" wanting to remain anonymous. Adam typed Roger Jameson. The banner suddenly showed an animation of a person shaking their head left and right, as if ashamed or angry, the new banner under the picture. Read, "Nice try, bud. Your name is actually Adam Martin. Don't try to fool us." Adam began to get scared and tried to exit the website. To his disbelief, everything was frozen. The mouse refused to move. He was unable to turn off the computer. Suddenly, his picture appeared on the site. The animated person holding it like a photograph under the picture appeared as a dress on another banner. "Now we have your face and address. We'll be over at your house in 20 minutes. Don't try to hide or call anyone. It's useless. She really wants to meet you." Adam, screaming through his laptop on the floor, scream became black. He tried his cell phone but had found it not working, and he had no landline. He did not rush to get a weapon, choosing a baseball bat. No sooner than he had done that his doorbell rang. It rang once, then twice. A woman's voice suddenly said, "Hello, Adam. I've come to meet you. Open the door." Please, her voice had been pleasant and not threatening, but Adam peeked out a window near the door and saw her. She was dressed in a long, dark blue dress that looked like an old prom gown. She had long, dark hair that looked like it needed to be brushed and strangely thin ribs visible at the sides. Her eyes had a blank stare and were bloodshot red mascara and eyeliner barely covered dark circles and bags under her eyes. She looked like she hadn't slept in weeks. She was wearing dark red lipstick that was smudged over her cheek. "I know you're there," she said in a creepy way. He finally looked, and her left hand was a large meat cleaver, which looked like it had been used already. She began to knock on the door with the cleaver. "Come on. Open the door. You said you wanted to meet. Open up." Suddenly, a neighbor's dog began to bark loudly. Getting her attention, he saw her walk away with a smirking smile. He hid under his kitchen table, finally trying the cell phone again, until his relief it was working again. But as he began to get in contact with the police, he heard the dog next door let out a loud yell and what sounded like someone chopping something. The dog had going quiet, but the chopping sounds continued, still talking to the dispatcher. Adam heard someone walk up to his door again, ring the doorbell once, then footsteps ran away. The dispatcher advised him to open the door and the police would arrive shortly and say a cold word to let him know the 10 minutes it took for them to arrive. Felt like an hour after the police gave a code word. Adam opened the door and was greeted with a gruesome sight. On the path to the door lay his neighbor's dog, a German Shepherd. It looked bad, barely recognizable, when his back was a message that said, "Next time I'll meet you," but it spelled meat as in MEAT. Unfortunately, the woman was never found, and the website couldn't be located. Adam ended up giving his neighbor a new dog. Then he moved to another place, although he did eventually find a girlfriend. The guilt and fear he'd felt that night weighed heavily on his mind. He told me he'd luckily been smart enough to not open the door for the woman in the prom dress. I was glad he didn't, but I sometimes wonder if anyone was unfortunate enough to open that door for the crazy prom queen with a meat cleaver. I almost don't want to know. This was our story today. Do not forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the bell button to receive all new updates, and like the video. Goodbye.